going to practice a few exercises to include and ingrain the pulse into your patterns. While it is true that patterns are not conducting, as in the sense that conducting with endless patterns over and over and over again does not serve the music, patterns are still very much useful, and they do form the basics of some conducting movements. Now, before you can disrupt the patterns, of course, you need to learn the patterns. One of the basic things that need to go into your arms and into your movements when you do patterns is the point of reference, or the pulse. Hello everyone, I'm Gianmaria Griglio. I'm a conductor and composer, and I welcome you to this new episode of Conducting Pills. If you're new to the channel, this channel is all about classical music, conducting, and conducting technique in particular. I'm a firm believer that conducting technique is something that you can learn. There's no magic behind it. It's simple technique. Without further ado, let's move on to our exercises. When you start learning conducting, one of the first things that you learn are patterns. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so forth. As simple as that might look, there are a few things that are essential for even for a pattern to be clear. Watch this. If I'm doing something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a simple 4/4 pattern. It's very straightforward. It's readable. However, it's not completely clear. And you guess why? Because essentially, I'm not putting any clear point of reference into my movements. What this results when there is no point of reference, that is that the orchestra takes time to read it and to guess, especially if you add to this movements that are not straight or movements that break your wrist and your arm in multiple movements, or other body movements like bouncing on your knees and or nodding with your head and these kind of things. As every conductor that starts out, we're not sure of what to do exactly. We pretend we like to put up a brave face in front of the orchestra, especially the first few times, but the fact of the matter is that we're not really sure of what we're doing and how the orchestra responds to it. Therefore, more often than not, then we compensate with extra movements like walking on the podium. This is one of the things that I used to do. Or bouncing on your knees, or adding all sort of other movements. All of these movements, maybe they put on a good show, or maybe they make you feel good about yourself, but the fact of the matter is that they're just confusing to whoever is in front of you. What you really need to work on is keeping the focus centered. You stand up straight, you don't bounce on your knees, you don't walk around, and you put up your arm, and then you start moving. And the movements, whether they're in a pattern or not, need to be consistent. What does that mean? That means that when you practice at home, when you practice your conducting technique, you need to be aware and to keep aware of two things. One is the speed of the baton, so moving from one point to another of the pattern, the speed of the baton must remain constant. Otherwise, what happens is that you're getting ahead of the sound. So you're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, and maybe you're 1 and you're already with the baton on 2, and then you have to wait. So you stop here, 3, and then you move sideways, and then you wait for the time to pass and to reach the next beat. Moreover, you're not connected to the sound itself. You need to carry the sound from one pulse to the next. When you practice a pattern, you also need to keep in mind the pulse. The pulse generally corresponds with the beat within the pattern. So at first, what you should practice is 1, 2, 3, 4, putting a pulse on each beat. If you don't remember how the pulse is made, you can look up this video. As a quick reminder, the pulse always comes from the wrist and never from other part. That's where the movement initiates. You pulse and then you carry the sound from one beat to the next. Now, this is just to start. Of course, you don't need to pulse every time on every beat because the orchestra doesn't need that. Then you need to recognize and to understand where the orchestra actually does need a pulse, which could be simply on 1, 2, 3, 4, or it could be on the third beat, for instance, 1, 2, 3, 4. That is a different type of step that you do as a conductor when you learn a score, understanding when the orchestra needs you and when it's time to back off. Now, you can practice these exercises with a metronome, starting at a slow pace, 1, 2, 3, 4, applied of course to 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can apply to all patterns. Remember to do the same thing with the left hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Which at first, especially if you're right-handed, might feel a little bit strange or a little bit weird because you're not used to do these movements. But remember that the left hand needs to be able to do everything that the right hand does, and vice versa. The idea that you simply beat time with your right hand and you use your left hand for expression is actually quite dated, and it's actually a limitation of what you can do as a conductor. Practice in front of a mirror. Even better, practice in front of a camera, meaning record yourself with a phone, with a tablet, with your computer, with whatever, and then watch yourself back. This is going to help you getting a little distance from yourself because you're not trying to do it and look at yourself and then correct it at the same time, especially at the beginning, but you're doing it and then you're looking at yourself as a spectator, and then you can understand better and see even better what went wrong and how and where you need to intervene to fix it. Again, when you practice patterns, always remember to pulse. The wrist leads. However, make sure that when you move your wrist, you don't move your forearm. When you move your forearm, you don't move your wrist or your shoulder or your entire arm. This is because if you move all three of them or all two of them at the same time, you end up with this type of movement. You're breaking your wrist. What this does is creating multiple point of references for the orchestra. Where's the pulse? There's one here, and one here. So which one are the players supposed to choose? This is going to help you gain absolute clarity in your conducting gestures, and to be in control of the orchestra. Of course, this is just a little part of how you can gain more clarity in your conducting. For more information and for more videos, head to my website where you can find a lot of different articles on conducting and conducting technique. Thank you for watching. If you have any question or any comments or any suggestion for that matter, put them down in the comments or let me know. And I will do my best to include them in one of the future videos. I will see you in the next episode of Conducting Pills. In the meantime, be well, have fun practicing, and be kind to yourself.